And for the latest on Julia Gillard's trip to China, we're joined now from Beijing by the ABC's China correspondent, Stephen McDonell. Well, Stephen, Julia Gillard's just given a key address to business leaders. How has she been received in China, particularly after relations, as Mark Simkin just referred to, with Kevin Rudd?
Well, she's met the top two leaders here and as well the number two leader in the next leadership transition. So I guess that's three of the big four leaders here, and so it is drawing quite a bit of attention in China. On the 7 o'clock news here, nationally, it was the second story, for example, so quite a bit of interest here in the visit from Julia Gillard.
Well, I know in her speech tonight that she did raise the issue of the proposed carbon tax. Is that carbon tax the idea or the plan to put a price on carbon an issue for the Chinese?
Well, the interesting thing with global warming in China is that there's no debate here, no public debate as to whether or not global warming is happening or that it's man-made, because the government just accepts the scientific evidence that both of these things are true. So, you're not going to get people here questioning Julia Gillard about this. And the big companies here, the state-owned companies, have essentially been told to get on with doing something about this. And so you've got the big oil companies here. They're throwing billions of dollars at renewable energy, huge wind farms, solar energy, and this sort of thing. So it's not seen as such a conflict here in that way. And I really think that any, people questioning whether or not coal prices might go up, for example, imports as a result of this, is just a little bit at the margins. Essentially, as I said, it's recognised by the government that these measures must be taken, and so I suppose in that sense Julia Gillard is amongst friends here.
Well, amongst friends on that issue, I wonder about the other issue, of course, human rights, not the favourite subject of Chinese leaders. Have her comments had any impact? How have they gone down?
No, well, this is obviously going to be the big thorny issue, and this is also going to be an ongoing problem for the West in general, not only for Australia. How does Australia get on with China? At the moment we are in the midst of a big crackdown here that Mark Simkin mentioned in his report earlier, and I'll just give you one example. Tung Biao, he's a lawyer, a human rights lawyer. Now, he was taken off the streets here earlier this year in February. Nobody knows where he's gone. His family hears nothing about him, and essentially all he's guilty of doing was having a meeting about another human rights activist who was let out of prison and illegally placed under house arrest. So if you can't even do that sort of thing here, this is going to be an ongoing problem for the West and for countries like Australia. And I suppose all that the Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, can do, and other Western leaders do, is to continually raise these issues and let China know that it's not okay. But the people who monitor these things do say that if specific cases are raised, then sometimes it does help those who are being held in detention, sometimes for 6 months, for a year on end, and their family know nothing about their whereabouts.
Stephen McDonell in Beijing, many thanks.